Hey guys, Brassfax here. Movies, series, and video games are a big part of what likely introduced, cultivated, and in some ways maintains our passion for firearms. And these movies are very often distilled down to iconic weapons that we remember them by. Movies especially have some pretty damn iconic weapons. The M41A pulse rifle, Han Solo Totally Not a Luger Blaster, Die Hard MP5, Bond's PPK, and let's not forget the entire Admin Results channel was built off of raw dogging the concept of the Blood Diamond Car 15. There, of course, are so many more, and everyone has their favorites. But today, I want to talk about my favorite movie gun, the VZ58 from Strike Back.
You Navy boys like to swim, right?
Yeah.
You wanna go get that bunk?
Yeah, let's do it. The hell, why not?
So yeah, Strike Back, a little bit out of left field. It's not a movie, it's a show, and it's generally regarded as pretty hit or miss. Though, judging by the amount of you that do the sort of meme every single time it shows up in the footage and recognize in the comments section that it is, in fact, the Strike Back gun, I'm gonna say this show has a bit of a cult following. If you haven't picked up on it yet, this video is about Strike Back. On one hand, we have Scott, the American, who is forced to work with this British agency because he's had a sort of fall from grace, but now he's this sort of funny but gruff, I don't play by the rules, I don't give a shit sort of character. And you know he doesn't give a shit and doesn't play by the rules because he misses every single meeting, and then they smash cut to him fucking a woman in his hotel room from last episode. On the other side, we have the more serious sort of, British agent guy, completely pissed off that he has to work with a American, which he doesn't view serious at all. And that sort of dynamic is them clashing the whole time as they're forced to work together, and you get I guess you would call it a tactical rush hour, for the lack of a better term, or a Bad Boys. This, by all accounts, should be a terrible show. The two main actors go across a bunch of shithole third world nations, killing a bunch of very willing to die fighting age males with AKs. The overall terroristic plot is essentially the same, right? Dude wants to kill the entire world, and because it's the early 2000s, all of the bad guys are basically Islamic terrorists to some degree. You get the deal. But for some reason, it actually works, and I really like Strike Back Season 2 and beyond.
Also, my Strike Back Clone Correct gun is waiting for me in Utah.
That show you were obsessed with. That was
It's a fun show!
Obsessed with is absolutely the right word, though.
Like, he's way too into it, right?
Yes, clearly.
Your parents watched it, you piece of shit!
So it's a parent's
exactly.
show. Okay.
Do you want my parents to be your baseline?
The best way I can describe Strike Back is essentially Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Call of Duty Modern Warfare very much has, like Strike Back, an external paint job of realism. Then you actually play the game, and it is the most absurd, off-the-rails, spectacle-driven insanity that you've ever touched in your entire life. It was I'm a bunch of Navy SEALs, we're going to submersible our way over into this Russian submarine, kick down the hatch, kill everyone aboard, somehow, I don't remember what the MacGuffin was, launch the entire VLS array to the Russian fleet, which, has to be like 4 feet away, otherwise you can't see the effects of your player action, blow up everything while escaping in a rib boat down a, thunder-mounting splash ride. Or the classic one, Ramirez defend Burger Town, and the Russians are invading DC, and it's one of the best games ever created in human history. And that's what Strike Back is doing, at least with its action scenes and the limitation of being a show with real human actors. It's a serious show set in a serious timeline. Everyone takes the stakes seriously. The action scenes or at least the actor training and the props are pretty decent. It looks like most of the time they're using a blank firing gun. The actors have decent weapons, manipulations and training, right? They do reloads properly, they do the under rack. In fact, they seemingly have very aggressive instructions to actually use the stock properly, which I'll get to in a second. And they'll even, clear corners. There's a lot of moving. Hey, I'm reloading. It's like, yeah, I got you, right? Stuff like that. That really sort of elevates the scene. But that realism stops the second it bumps into the potential of ruining the spectacle. And that means you're going to have situations where they're fighting 2 versus 50, right? The main characters have ungodly levels of plot armor. They are engaging dudes in the most unrealistic scenario, and in general, right, it's a Call of Duty level, is how I describe the action scenes. You add on top that the actors are fairly decent. The two main actors especially have some pretty good, I think, chemistry, both written and just actor-wise.
Fuck was that?
Probably a kangaroo.
What the fuck's that?
The little fish that swims up your cock and drinks your blood. Can't get it out.
fucking kidding me?
You've nothing to worry about, mate, because it'll never find your tiny cock.
Fuck you. I want to get out now.
It's not smart. It is essentially schlop. No, it is schlop, right? You turn your brain off and you just have fun. But sometimes that's okay. And if Transformers 1, 2, and 3 is bad, then I don't want to be right. And I think the same about Strike Back. Yeah. Oh, this video was about a gun, wasn't it? Yeah, so the VZ58. The VZ58 is absolutely the iconic Strike Back gun. Well, it's also the iconic Czech gun, but whatever, who cares about them right now, right? We're talking about Strike Back. Early on in the first season, well, the first season, the first real season, right? Remember, we agree, season 1's not a real season. They're using a VZ58. Sometimes they have a PBS-1, but I don't believe that can actually mount to that gun without an adapter, and they're direct threading it clearly, but anyway, who cares? They're also using it because they want a weapon that can use AK magazines, but it can't use AK magazines. I think ultimately the reason why it's there is because they need bad guy gun, AK, and good guy gun, M4s and the VZ58, right? The original setup is awful. It's disgusting, right? It's a aim point with a cantilevered mount forward, and the height over stock is horrifically bad. And remember earlier when I mentioned that the actors have a decent amount of training and they're actually told very much to use have a cheek weld on their stock for, realism's sake, and they very much take that to heart, and it works for most guns that they use, M4s, iron-sighted AKs, whatever. But that doesn't work when you have an optic this high over bore, and you can tell one of the actors is really struggling with it, and most of the time, he's doing his little crunched bullshit stance, which, makes sense for the time that this was set, and he's just looking into the back of the optics mount, right? He can't see shit. However, in later seasons, they kind of upgrade to a much cooler configuration. They run the Ultra Short Boy VZ58 in 5.56 or by 3.9, depending on, what day it is, essentially. And that looks way cooler. Even the base configuration, no optic, no nothing, that's a cool gun. And then they put the, ultra long boy suppressor on it, the aimpoint CCO on the side mount, the 5.56 magazines, and the underslung sort of flashlight. I don't know if I'm just enamored by Strike Back, so this gun speaks to me, but man, that is a cool gun. And since I like Strike Back and I like guns, I've been kind of counting down the years for when I could actually have a setup like this for myself. So I finally got a VZ58 from Checkpoint USA with a modernized top rail, M-lock, and instead of 5.56, we're doing good old 7.62x3.9. Not a true Strike Back clone correct build, but good enough, and I quite frankly couldn't bring myself to run 5.56 out of that short of a barrel. Disclaimers on the table. For once, the company actually sent me a gun. Nice. The Checkpoint USA guy heard me mention I wanted the VZ58 Strike Back video, emailed me, and the rest is history. Just so you know, and don't make the same mistake I did, Checkpoint is the importer-distributor for CZ. They're not literally CZ, so no, they don't know when the 300 Blackout VZ58 is coming to the States. No, they can't get you that Bren 3 hookup. Yeah, I asked. Going into this, I was pretty convinced this thing would be an abomination to shoot. 7.62x3.9, short-barreled, angled stock, and an absurd height over bore was a recipe for disaster. It's the ultimate Exodia combination for a gun that just sucks to shoot. And yeah, it's not the most pleasant experience of all time. Going into concussion, muzzle flash, and gas fucking my day right up, then into the actual bullets itself, and in general, the gun is somewhat violent, especially for its diminutive size. Unfortunately, this is where the story is going to end, and by story I mean the video. Originally, I was going to kind of talk about how, SOCOM uses the SIG Rattler in 7.62x3.9 in a somewhat similar configuration, so hey, maybe the show was onto something. Of course, I'm brass facts, so I talk about 7.62x3.9 maybe as a good PDW munition, how it compares to 300 Blackout, blah, 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 blah. But my gun doesn't work. And I keep getting the exact same malfunction over and over, bullets straight into the bottom of the feed ramps. Wolf, Tula, normal brass, Celeron Bellet brass, whatever I could get my hands on, suppressed, unsuppressed, all flavors of magazine. Still couldn't get the gun to run. The gun is currently back at Checkpoint USA, and they're working on it there. In fact, they sent me a second gun, which they know for a fact works, and I can't get it to work. Which is odd, because this is not a new gun, right? This has a good reputation of being a very reliable, non-finicky firearm. I don't know if this is like a skill issue on my end or what's going on, but this is obviously going to drag out for quite some time, and I really wanted to talk about the Strike Back and the VZ58 in this configuration, so for once I'm going to ask for a bit of a rain check and end the video there. Hopefully you enjoyed this very not typical Brass Facts type of video, and I'll see you guys next week. Dog. Hi, can I get free content from you?